Are you ready to do this? This is a scary movie.
I'm as ready as I'll ever be, that's for sure.
Halloween week, and I put a little pressure on you.
You definitely did. Pushed me out of my typical genre of going into the horror realm that is not comedic.
We are doing a comedic kind of almost horror also this week, though.
There's the balance. I tried to push the Muppets Haunted House instead of The Conjuring.
And I bought that hook, line, and sinker.
You did?
Yeah.
Turns out it was just a TV special, so it didn't quite work.
It didn't, but we're going to get into The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Wait. Weighing in at 100 and weighing in at 100 and Matt Logan.
Which is rated R, and it was released just this year on June 4th of 21.
Yep.
The dang thing did $202 million.
Really?
On a $39 million budget.
It's not bad. That's called profit.
It's not bad. Let's get into it. So, who are you?
I know who you are.
My name is Tyler.
I'm somebody.
I am working with Matt on these, and just loving it.
Good.
And who doesn't love talking about movies?
And we're going to put little clips that you just saw and make fun of Tyler right there, but that's okay.
No, it's not hard to do.
I want to get right into the ratings on this thing, and then we'll kind of skip around a little bit and talk about some of the other nuance to it. But I just want to get into it with actor chemistry, because this is, the 8th film in this franchise.
Yep.
Obviously, this is the 3rd film essentially with these actors specifically. I gave it a 4.6 because you could tell they're veterans. They've worked together, all those kinds of things.
So what now?
I think that for me, Patrick Wilson is one of those actors that he just sort of fits into almost anything.
Yep.
And he's not like it's not like a Tom Cruise where it's like, I'm Tom Cruise.
Let me go run around.
Right.
Yeah.
And where it's just Tom Cruise all the time.
Yeah.
But Patrick Wilson just fits the roles.
Yep.
And he just does a dynamite job, in my opinion. And, they did a great job together. Again, he and Vera. And so that chemistry is some of the other actors that we saw in a couple of the other films. This is the only Conjuring film you've seen, to my understanding.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've seen all of them.
Yeah, I am sure that definitely helps build.
It does. It does.
The story.
So that's where I'm at. I just want to get that right out there. I thought they're veterans, so they did a great job together. 4.6.
Yeah, I really liked Lorraine and Ed, so Patrick and Vera's characters. You could tell they've been at it a few times doing this type of thing. And in those scenes, they knew their roles, and they either pushed each other when they knew they could be pushed, or kind of said, hey, we really need not to do this, or go into it further. And it just made complete sense of them as a couple and them as actor and actress working together. I did struggle with some of the other side casts, and so luckily for the film, I think for me at least, is the main storyline is between Patrick and Vera, and figuring out what happened during this Conjuring. But some of the other ones, again, it was probably because they didn't get a ton of screen time together, and so even looking at Arnie's character, between his girlfriend and the kid and stuff like that, I think, again, I didn't watch the first two. I think I don't know how much involvement they had in the other ones, but some of their chemistry seemed a little bit off. It's
you could definitely tell they weren't together before,
right?
At least with this franchise.
So
yeah, I agree with
that. Again, the main actors that counted, you can ask for a better pair to work in this setting and in this film, and so they definitely held the film up. But again, the supporting characters I struggled with believing kind of their characters and chemistry with each other. And so I gave it a 3.6 just because of that. A little bit different. And so, I mean, that was my thought process. Again, I think it helped that Patrick and Vera's characters were the main focus. And I think I could see benefit from it being put to those other actors and giving more time to believe the chemistry. But at the same point, I'm glad they didn't, because I love seeing those two on screen.
Yeah, and that is a good point. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I wouldn't say I would give it that low of a score, probably because I've seen the other ones, I guess, and so my focus has been on the two main characters like the whole time.
Yep.
You know, and not probably noticing some of those things as clearly as you do, which is why we're two generations. Right. Hey, if you're joining us, by the way, this is Maddie's Movie Mix, and if you're new to the podcast, so are we.
That's right.
Hey, I don't feel great about this, but I don't hear anyone complaining.
This is technically our 5th episode.
Yep.
So we're just having fun with it. I'm below average Tyler, and you're below average Matt.
That's what we figured out last week.
Right, but we're average Matt and average Tyler.
That's right.
So
Not to confuse anyone at all.
No, exactly. Not at all. But we're just a couple of, as somebody had put it, gents. A couple people actually did, believe it or not. We're just a couple of gents, having fun with it. So it's great. Two different comments I got that said gents.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, one guy is from Australia, so shout out Joey if you're watching,
or something,
listening.
or a top hat to feel like a real gent.
Right. So so that was fun. But Joey, shout out to you, buddy, and someone else had left comments on that we were two gents.
Hats off.
Right.
And now a quick break from the podcast, because listening sometimes just gets draining, just like water drains down a sink. Okay. And now, back to the episode.
So we're having fun with it. That's good times. What do you want to get into next? Let's talk about these two actors a little bit more. Ed Warren, Lorraine Warren, obviously their characters are intertwined in this quite a lot throughout these Conjuring and even a couple Annabelles, I guess. But Patrick, he was in The Watchmen. Did you see that?
No, it was on my watch list. But I haven't gotten to it yet because I really do enjoy the superhero films.
Yeah, and he played Night Owl.
Okay.
In that, and I thought he did a great job in that as well. But he's done a lot of different things. He's been background actors in, I think the A-Team and Prometheus. He was a primary actor. He was in Insidious. And all kinds of different things that he did.
I really enjoyed his ability to understand his role in a scene, because there were times where it felt that he understood the scene was meant for somebody else, for a lot of like the Vera when she was having her visions and stuff. And I think he did a great job of being able to not have the attention focused on him, but his supporting cast.
Yeah, he was just like there,
right?
Like you're at a party and someone else is talking and you're just kind of there.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's good. What about Vera? What stood out?
She creeped me out.
Yeah.
Well, she was one of the few or many characters that.
Just because of her ability?
Her abilities, her vision, even her demeanor was cold, I felt, just because...
She's a good actress.
She is amazing at what she was in her character. And so, being focused within the visions that she had, and she was all in, even like when she was touching the dead hand.
Yeah.
And getting the vision. But whenever I saw her in her talk, she is straight to the point and wants to get down to, brass tacks and figure it out. And so she's not a warm character by any sense. And I think because of that in her background, her character creeped me out. I know she's a good guy, but she just
Yeah,
creeped me out a little bit.
I get that. And what I thought was interesting, when you say it like that, what was interesting and stood out to me was when they did the whole scene of how Ed and Lorraine met.
Yeah.
And that brought out some of that warmth in her character.
Yep.
Whereas, like, really sentimental, and, he had the heart attack. Spoiler. And so I called that one a little late. Sorry, guys. But it was interesting how they brought that into that, I guess, for me.
And I liked the orange tint in the flashbacks. It was the warmer. You knew that it was a happier place because of how they shot it and the coloring they did with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And James Wan, I think it was his name, right? I have it written here somewhere. But anyway, he was involved in the Saw movies. He did all 8 of the Conjuring.
Oh my gosh!
In those, he was in it. He did, just all of the different things that are this kind of feel.
Yeah, he knows how to do it.
Yeah, and I thought he did a great job with that. So
yeah.
Let's go ahead. Pick another. What are we going to do next?
Let me look. Do you want to talk about filming locations?
Let's do it.
So it's based in a small town in Atlanta, from my understanding, in the 1980s, based off of... was it Newman? Noonan. Sorry, I was thinking...
No, it shouldn't be Atlanta. Isn't it on the upper East Coast?
Is that where it is?
Yeah, I think so. I have it somewhere. I think it's in Massachusetts or Connecticut.
I was almost in the right... Oh, that's right, because I saw the maps. Yeah. That was definitely not Atlanta.
Connecticut, yeah.
Connecticcut.
Yeah, so the
small
Arnie...
town in Connecticut.
Yeah, Arnie was Connecticut. That's where and so they were in, I think, Massachusetts, not far away. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know where I got Atlanta from. But, so based in the 1980s, and based off a true story, which always makes me nervous on the inside. I really enjoyed some of the decor they did with the house that they were in with the tacky wallpaper, or what I would call tacky wallpaper. Some people obviously love it. The cop car with the not the full bar over it, but just the two lights. Being born in the 90s, I didn't even know that was an option for a cop car. And the courthouse didn't have a ramp on it, which I thought was a good touch because it clearly went in those times.
They made that stand out, super clearly. Yeah. It would be interesting to kind of look at the time frame that all that stuff came into place, because it was 81, based off of 81. Yep. And I remember I was a little kid in 81. Okay. And I remember ramps all over the place. And I did notice that in the film. I'm glad you said something, because I thought, wait a minute, I don't know. There's a lot of ramps back then, even if they were kind of half thrown together. Okay. There was a lot of wheelchair ramps. So it'd be interesting to know when that really went federal. Right. That's just a sidebar.
And I think, too, just looking is big town versus small town, how are they going to implicate those things? Again, so that was just something I noticed when I was watching the film, those small, I guess not small, but things that stuck out to me because it's something you wouldn't see nowadays, especially at a courthouse. So I thought it was pretty well done. Again, the scenes were darker, but it made sense, again, because you never know what's lurking around the corner, for better or for worse. And so I really enjoyed it. I thought the locations made sense. The tunnel, again, maybe spoiler, but tunnels under the old priest house, I thought was cool. So I gave it, a 4.2. I thought, again, I don't know if this is just ignorant. I don't know fully what happened in the 80s, but it made me think this is definitely based not in current times.
For sure. Yeah.
But not super far back either. So
yeah. Relatable. Yeah. Past. Yeah. So the tunnels were a really neat touch. I think it seemed to me, though, that'd be pretty obvious. Like, it took them a while, in my opinion, to catch on to the whole where this, evil actor was. And, and I say actor not as in the actor, but actor as in a person doing bad things.
Yes.
That evil, but the...
Break time. Break time. Break time. Yep, time for a break. We'll be right back. Think of someone you can encourage today. And now, back to the episode with your host, Matt Logan.
So the tunnel thing... Because they went down into his basement and they sort of knew the tunnels were there. Spoiler. There's tunnels where he just opens a bookshelf.
Yeah.
And there they are. And they sort of knew that was there when they first visited.
But not to the extent, I think.
Not to the extent.
It clicked with the guy of like, oh my gosh.
Right.
I know exactly where this is.
Just seemed a little late.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. You're in an intense situation. Dude had a heart attack.
That was the thing that baffled me. He just had a heart attack, and then he's going around going after like possessed people or people who are cursed. I'm like, I don't even do that when I don't have a heart attack.
Right?
I can imagine, and it was a major heart attack from what it sounded like.
Yeah.
And he was like, yep, I guess I won't go under the house. I'll let my wife do that. But I'll go running around and do basically everything else.
Yeah, I know. That seemed a little bit off for sure. But yeah, so you mentioned the house. That kind of, out east, I'm not really sure that would be a house they would have out east, but that's definitely something that they have down south.
Yep.
Where you can crawl underneath a house like that. Obviously here in the Midwest, we're used to basements. But out east, I know they have a lot of basements as well. And so that was a little bit off for me, which lowered the score just a touch.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
A couple of those kind of things, I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be a house out east.
Right.
Just because of my age and knowing what I know now. But so I gave it a 4.3 because they did go to a lot of visually fun places.
Yep.
And they also did the camera work, the cinematography.
That's right.
Is that work they did really well too, because when they had the different scenes, they really made sure that the look and the lighting was extremely different, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, they did a lot of things with the lighting, which was cool to see.
Yeah, so a 4.3 for me on that one.
I feel it.
One of the things that was pretty interesting, though, I want to bring up is the actor, the kid, David. And he was 7 at the time they filmed that. And yeah, it's I'm thinking that this kid actor is 20 years old, and he's got
Lots
whatever.
Of
he's just
CGI.
a little right. I mean, he's just a short guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, whoa, they actually had a 7-year-old. I assume that they added all the CGI later.
Yeah.
And this little kid has no idea like what they really did.
Right.
I hope.
I hope so too, but I don't know.
It's
He had a basic understanding. I mean, when he was doing certain things, it was very believable, and you have to, at least to portray those things, you have to have a certain understanding or context.
I know.
So that's where I struggle. I think he definitely, I don't think he understands the big picture. I hope that he just read it and understood the direction enough to be able to act it out and then do more with it post-production. Because, I would not be that kid. I'd be like, nope, find somebody else.
Yeah, if I was the parent, I'd be like, find somebody else, man.
That's right.
I don't know. That's just me, but...
Although I did like the bright light that the little kid had in his room. So maybe when he was off screen, he was able to go play with the bright lights.
Right.
Not that kids nowadays would ever want to play with one of those, but I would want to play.
Totally.
And there were scenes where he was, kids, I don't watch a ton. We can talk about all day that I do. This is probably, I can count on the hand how many times I've watched a horror film. I remember watching Saw, and I had nightmares for weeks from that movie. And I wouldn't even consider that probably a super scary movie.
It's not because it's so far over the top that you know it's not real.
Right.
Yeah.
It's aliens. And I don't even know where I was going to go, but I completely lost it.
I get it. Well, I mean, you worked all day. It's late. I totally get it. I wanted to get into the look of it anyway, the cinematography of it. I just want to say, this is going to be aired a few days after what happened with Alec Baldwin. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
Sad deal. The loss of a cinematographer on the film that he was working on. So just heartfelt condolences to that family as we talk about her craft in cinematography. But like I said a minute ago, I really enjoyed the different, like the courthouse scene. You brought that up, and so I want to bring it up again. It was bright.
Yes,
you know it would be bright. It's the daytime. It's all those things, and
you can feel safe.
Yeah, exactly. And then when they were in the jail, it was dark, and you saw
scary. Every shadow.
Yes. So I thought they really did a good job. There's a few places that I didn't really care for. Some of the cars and stuff, I thought. For some reason, the reason I brought the score to where it's at was for some reason I'm thinking, and I could be getting it wrong, but some of the cars, like the reflections and some of that kind of stuff, I know that's difficult to do, but something stood out to me there. And when I scored it, I guess a few of those car scenes that didn't seem quite natural.
Yep.
So I gave it a 4.1. Again, the cinematographers do a great job with the cameras and the lighting and all that, just what's on that film.
I think it's one of the most important parts in this genre.
Yeah.
You have to get the lightings in the shot right. Otherwise, it's not going to be as believable or as scary.
Right.
And so with that being said, I agree. I think even with the cinematography, they did well blending it with the score, which we'll talk about later, but you would have dark places and loud or very eerie noises. And so the combination between the two gets your heart pumping, at least my heart pumping, because I'm a newbie and I was on edge this whole movie. Even for parts that cinematography wise, the courthouse, I shouldn't be afraid, but I'm like, something's going to happen pretty soon.
It's right around the corner.
He's going to fall off his wheelchair and then all of a sudden get possessed. I don't know. Anyways, that's side tangent. The action scene, specifically at the beginning when they're dealing with the possession of David, the little kid that we had talked about earlier, it was a lot of quick shots, or it was a combination of quick shots or a lot of flashing lights. And so you really weren't fully aware what was going on besides this kid making very quick movements, focus on the eyes, the kid having a seizure as he's getting possessed. So,
and now a quick break for your ears if you're watching and your eyes if you're... Wait, did I get that right? Here's some music. And now, back to the episode.
I really enjoyed those scenes. It was done well, and it had me freaked out. The flashbacks that we talked about earlier, there was the bright orange tint that was very warm. You could tell it was a happy place for Vera. And then even some of the stuff where she had visions of, what was going on by the people being controlled. So they would shoot between, I was thinking the forest scene where they're trying to find that body, and they're running through the forest, and Vera runs off because she can see it clearly in her mind. And so you see a shot pan to her running, you see the shot to the missing person running and stabbing and spoilers, they're stabbing in this movie.
Surprise, surprise.
And so I thought those scenes were really fun and really were cool because you're really focusing both on the present with Vera and then also what she's seeing through the vision. So I thought that was well done. So I did a lot of shots quoting Lauren's vision through people's eyes and cutting back to reality, which I always think is a cool concept. So I actually gave it 4.2. I thought, again, I think this is one of the most important parts in films, especially in the horror aspect, because it's all about what's lurking in the shadows. It's all about misdirects. So I thought it was well done. Again, it had me on my toes probably more than what it should have, but it was fun to watch.
Excellent. Let's move on to the costume design. I'll let you go first on this one since I went first on the other one.
Okay. Again,
notice how I said I'll let you.
Oh, you're so kind.
I'm gonna make you go first.
Granted.
No.
Understood.
I can go too, but
you know what? I think I can just go.
Go.
I choose to go at this point. So I thought it was fun. Lorraine having the nightgown dress and stuff like that, and always having long sleeves, long pants. Again, I think that kind of ties into her character of kind of being more on the conservative side, especially with the possession. So I thought it was fitting to her character as well, whether or not, again, my perspective is from 90s on. So anything before the 80s, I'm still learning of, what was the actual attire. And so I thought that was well done. Definitely made sense to me with her character. And then even for Ed, long sleeve, he kind of reminded me of like a pastor I would mentally picture of the long sleeves that are nicer, but not a complete suit. And I like the kid's super boxy glasses.
Yeah.
And so I gave it 4.3 just because it didn't distract me and it tied me more into the story and the time of when it was being said, and it made sense to me.
It did make a lot of sense to me as well, in a lot of ways. I will say, though, I gave it a bit lower than you, a 3.9, because I want those scenes just to really stand out sometimes when they're doing like off the wall stuff. And right. I know this wasn't the kind of movie that and I've brought this up before, The Matrix and the woman in the red dress.
Right.
Like, I really like that personally.
Yep.
Just something that stands out. Like one character that it's like, Arnie, when he, took on and accepted the possession from the little kid David, I don't know what I expected specifically, but like,
why are you getting so upset? This is not about you.
All of a sudden, maybe, they changed the color. Not that his outfit changed, but then the color of his outfit got really dark. Or, you know what I mean? Like, where we would notice it as somebody watching the film, knowing what had happened, but the other people in the movie would not understand what had happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, just something like that. That's just like, whoa, that's,
I think a hard part with it, I think you're right in the sense they could have done more with seeing that passing from the child to to Arnie. But it was interesting too, because they definitely could have done more, because they based it more of it being a curse, and so it wasn't necessarily that he was, spoiler I guess, if that needs to be said here, where he wouldn't always be possessed, but there were definitely those scenes where obviously the person who was casting the curse would go into effect. And so I think you're right, they definitely could have and probably should have. I think if even when he was cutting himself, like they could have made that blood pop and be more of a red.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I mean, where I just want something that just really stands out. knowing full well that in real life that wouldn't be the case.
Right.
But when you're looking at this from a film perspective, and they're already doing that with the scenes we've talked about, the different tint and the memories, and
Yep.
so something that just would go, wow, look at what's going on here. So 3.9. Let's talk about your favorite thing.
Oh, the music.
Let's do it.
Well, it
You
usually
go.
is
You
my
go.
favorite thing because it entices me into the film. And it did its job in this one where I didn't want to be enticed as much as I would at times. And the music was very eerie from the very beginning. The guy who composed it, his name is Joseph Bishara, and he's done all of the Conjuring films. He did Insidious and Annabelle. So he's been in this genre, and he's done the Conjuring franchise before. And I could tell. And I think a shrill violin is one of the eeriest sounds. It's not natural to the ear, nor should it ever be natural. And so, I mean, even from the beginning, from the music and building it up, nope, it kept me in. And then the post-credit scene, and you could say what you want. It was basically a recording of someone, the actual possession, because it was based on a true story. So they had the recordings, and the way that sounded alongside the music in the background, I had thought I was done with the movie and that I didn't have to worry about fear any longer. But no, I was typing up my notes at the end, and all of a sudden I hear the recording, and it was, like Ring Around the Posy, when they try to do that creepy ring around the posy, and you're just like, nope, these are children. It's not natural. I don't like it. I felt the same way of how they did the recording at the end. That does go in the score and the way it was sounding, and alongside the music in the background. And so, yeah, even at the end when I thought I was safe, I was, nope, I am not safe. And so I was very enticed. I thought it was well done, especially at the parts I was listening to. Again, we talked about earlier, I thought it tied well in with some of the cinematography with the dark lights, the loud banging that would match with what's going in the sound. So I gave it a 4.3. I was enticed more than I wanted to be, and part of that was because the music was eerie and drew me in.
I like it. I'm going to throw it out there right away, 4.2.
Okay.
And I'm on board with you. I have seen the other, 7 films as well, and so they all do a really dynamite job.
Yeah.
Not all of them, I guess, but for the most part, they do a dynamite job. It really goes there. There's the real crazy, scary sounds that you don't even really notice they're there, because you're watching and you're listening and you're just feeling the whole thing. And so they did a really good job of blending that. So 4.2 on that one. I know a lot of people they miss the music or the score. I think that's a good thing.
I agree.
When you really, you're like, well, what did you think of the music? Well, what music?
Right.
I mean, every film has music.
Right.
But if you don't notice it, I think that's really good too.
Yeah, again, I think my limited knowledge of horror films, for things that would freak me out most in a film, I think cinematography and score are two of the most important parts. I mean, most of the time, the story can be good or bad, but if the music is placed in the right spot and the lights and the cinematography are done right, jump scares are going to be there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, that's what I'll say on the score, is I thought it kept me engaged more than I wanted it to be.
So what you're saying is, Tyler, is that you're willing to stretch a little bit further and do the Halloween movie?
Well, I'll be honest, when we talked about this, the part that engaged me, I was like, well, it'll be interesting to see how the score fits into it, because I know this will be important.
Yeah.
Not that I remember, it's not like you're going to remember what any of the, the main sounds are, but at least for me, I didn't, but it was good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
it. For sure. Overall entertainment value for me, really, I know a lot of the story. I thought that it was really wise to bring in a whole completely different thing, and yet tie like Annabelle into it. Some of that was obviously wise, but this is a standalone. To me, I mean, you could literally watch this one, not watch any of the others like you did.
That's right,
and be very entertained by it, and potentially want to know more about the story. Certainly of Ed and Lorraine.
Yes.
So entertainment value, that overall for me was 4.1. A little lower than I thought I would score it at, but there were some of those things that were just like, I don't know. This is a little bit, the music scene where, spoiler, stabbing.
How dare they?
Where the music was super loud, and in that, I think that was drawn out a little too much for me. There's a couple scenes like that, so that brings the entertainment value down for me. But so 4.1 on the overall entertainment.
And now a quick break, and it's not a Kit Kat, sorry. And now back to the episode.
So this one's very much perspective for me on this one.
Yeah.
Overall entertainment value. I mean, I was entertained, but I didn't want to watch it. Again, I had a good time watching and understanding the story and the characters. That was fun. Man, possession just gets to me. And so if you like this sort of genre, I think you'll love it. I mean, not love it, but it's another movie. I was looking at reviews for horror films, and it kind of reminds me of like Fast and the Furious or some action films where you never get like the Shawshank Redemption where you get 95 or 100%, like super critical reviews. I feel like a lot of them range from like the 50 to 75%. At least when I look at the reviews online, like IMDb, for better or for worse. I think this had like a 67 or 61 on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't really ever trust anyway.
Yeah, so that, I was going to say, I don't want to be like, I want this podcast to not be like political or be hard on one thing or another, just more of average people reviewing it. But I will say this with that. I have really noticed doing this podcast that the Rotten Tomatoes thing and some of the other ways that they rate or critique or whatever from a professional standpoint is very bent. It's very political. You can have a really, really, really high score from critics and the establishment, but nobody wants to watch it from an average view perspective, like our perspective. Nobody wants to see it. And the opposite is true. You'll have, spectators just loving it, but the critics are like, don't go see it.
It always amazes me.
So I don't like to, to wrap that up, I don't like to look at those things now. That I've studied them in the last 2 or 3 months.
That's right.
So that's my little rant, I guess.
Yeah, and I agree completely. I think people have their preferences, which is why I kind of preface entertainment value to me is very perspective, specifically for this.
For sure.
When it comes to everything
and
else.
that's why we decided to rate it, is like this is like, we are very different people, and we even talked about that before we recorded. Was for me, this type of a film, especially if it's based on a true event, obviously there's a lot of license here, creative license and stuff, but based on a true event is that helps me understand the good and evil sides of it, or things, you know what I mean? So that to me is like why I sort of separate that a little bit. But anyway.
So that being said, the film kept me on my toes the whole time. Again, whether that's just me being not familiar with the horror genre as a whole, and the score was very eerie and shrill, which kept me engaged. Interesting storyline specifically between Vera and Ed that kept me intrigued about their characters. Again, I had issues staying engaged with some of the other ones like David, Arnie, and the girlfriend. And the storyline about the curse and the possession rather than just a consistent possession I thought was interesting. That all being said, I gave it a 3.1 because horror is just not my genre. And so, again, the people kept me interested. I thought I was overall more entertained than I thought I was going to be. But
So you probably, the way I would interpret that is you probably wouldn't have finished watching it if you just like stumbled across and it was on, you flipped a channel and it just started. Probably wouldn't finish watching it.
yeah, let me tell you, any algorithm will not have any horror films come through my except for now because I've now seen one.
Right.
Now it's going to slowly creep up. Chucky will be next and things like that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. And that's good. That's why I think that's why I believe we'll make a good team. We'll get our chemistry figured out. And
I initially, when I was putting notes in for this, I sent a message to Matt. It was instead of The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I had The Conjuring, Matt Logan Made Me Do It.
yeah, right. Yeah, I like it. It's true. Thanks for, digging in and doing it too.
Right.
And
I had a good time. For better or for worse, I think one of the parts I'm excited about this is that it is going to push both of us in genres that we typically don't go into. So for better or for worse, it's making us more cultured people.
right,
more
exactly.
gentlemen.
Yes, gents. So that brings the overall rating for my score at a 4.2. What did you end up with?
3.8.
3.8. Sure. No.
I thought it was an intriguing film, not one of my typical genre. The music and story kept me on my toes for most part of the film, whether that be my lack of experience in the genre or a job well done. There was great chemistry between Ed and Lorraine, which, again, I think helped push the movie to be as good as it was. Each of them understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses. The relationships out of these two left me desiring more. Thought they could have done a better job of developing Arnie's and Debbie's character alongside David. There was very little with what was done besides Arnie being possessed, I felt.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to wrap it up there. I want to say as we close here, $39 million budget. I was expecting significantly more than that with these actors in there. Yep. So I'm not quite sure how they did that, but I would have thought like Vera and Patrick would be $10 million apiece.
Yep.
But maybe their contract was something along the lines of like how the film does. I don't know. But I was surprised at that budget.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be significantly higher than that.
Yeah, it's something you see more. But, I mean, you look at some of the sets and stuff, I felt like they kept it. I mean, you had to do CGI with some of the possessions and stuff like that. But other than that, a lot of it was a house. A lot of it was post-production of the lighting and stuff. So I think set-wise, they shouldn't have. I mean, I don't know, again, how much people pay for things. But I think they kept it simple in those regards, which probably helped the budget.
Yeah, for sure, significantly. You just would, to me, another film we're gonna do here is Ghostbusters, and that was a $30 million budget in 1984, 83 is when they started filming, and so that's what I'm saying. To me, it's like wow, 39 million. They did a lot with 39 million.
I agree.
Then, so, but yeah, I mean, the thing did. Like I said at the beginning, grossed $202 million on a $39 million budget. So that's a pretty good profit
that came
margin.
out during a time where films are still people weren't going out to films. I think really Black Widow started pushing people back to theaters. So even thinking about The Conjuring, which I think this movie would thrive in a theater, was a time where were not still going to films.
Yeah, it was just kind of getting started for sure. That's a good point.
For them doing that well is very impressive for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Hey, thanks everybody for watching, for listening. We would love to hear from you because, hey, we're new at this, and where do we suck, right? I mean, we need to get better. We're average people that want to just help you look at films in a different way. So help us look at the podcast in a different way.
I think one of the greatest parts about this is that, at least between me and Matt, is that we're appreciating these films in different perspectives because we have different thoughts and we're able to have those discussions. So I think your perspective is just as important for us to have those conversations.
Yeah, that will add your conversation into our conversation. So make sure that you hammer out a comment, hammer that like button, hammer the share button, and we will look forward to your 5-star rating.
That's right.
And with me today again,
Tyler Peterson.
I am Matt Logan. You will see us next time, or hear us with some spooky music maybe.
Or some very cheerful, happy music.
I'm just trying to push into that horror thing a little bit further, because I'm not going to be able to do that for long with you.
I'll play my shrill violin.
See y'all next time.